Big news, everybody. At long last, the progressive rate up, the improved summoning system when it comes to getting banner rate up heroes in Watcher of Realms has arrived. This will be launching on July 1st in just 4 days' time. This new feature, this new progressive rate up system is undeniably a beautiful, large step in the right direction. But don't get it twisted and think it is a solution. It is nothing close to a fully formed solution for the complaints that many players, creators, viewers, everyone that loves Watcher of Realms have had. If you don't believe me at first, it does look really good, and parts of it are really good. But as always, I've done a ton of math. I've actually already shared this sheet, so you can see some people up here are already taking a look. But I've done a ton of math to show while it is powerful, it is still going to infuriate and enrage many players. It is not exactly what you think it is. So I want to get right into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
This was announced as part of a larger update that will go live on the evening of July 1st, morning of July 2nd, depending on where you live and what your time zone is. It's a pretty juicy update, and there's a lot I want to discuss in it, but there's a lot of math to talk about in this video, so I want to separately just discuss all of the new rate-up system, all of the progressive stuff. In a video tomorrow, I will fully break down the entire update. The only thing besides the new special summoning rate-up adjustments, the new progressive system, I want to discuss in this video, just because it informs this new system, is one piece from the update at the very end, and that is that 3 formerly non-normal pool accessible legendary heroes are now entering the pool. Those 3 are Micah, Selene, and Callista. You can see that there in the other section, subsection 7, point number 5. So those 3 adding change the math for this equation, because when the new feature goes live, when the new system goes live, the pool of normal, summonable, invocation, and divine legendaries will grow from 67 to 70. So all of my numbers in this video are based upon that. The other thing I want to point out before we hop into a ton of breakdown and a ton of math is this was something they told many creators about, not just like me and Susie and War Guides. They told like at least a dozen creators about at least a month and a half ago, if not 2 months ago, and they sent us a finalized version for review almost exactly a month ago. Actually, it was about 3 weeks ago, I should say. And I do want to share my entire answer to their request that I review their new system. I'll pull it up here as a peek. You can see I blurred out the dev contact's name, but this is our standard dev contact. They sent us a long system that looked a lot like this, and they asked for all our thoughts. And I gave a very detailed reply that I do want to discuss with you guys, because they didn't listen to any of it. Not that they had to listen to me, but what my suggestions were, what my concerns were, without a doubt, were concerns, shared, thought of, voiced by many, if not all, the other creators, and still none of these things were implemented. This is identical to the final version for review they sent us. No changes were accepted or adopted. And that's kind of the theme of this video. I applaud Moonton, I fully do, for listening to the players, hearing there's a problem, and trying to make a solution. That being said, the solution, everything's better now, but it is not going to appease the majority of players. I sincerely think that. Like I said, it's a great step in the right direction, but I'd say we're only about 60% of the way there. 2 really quick things they could change, we'll discuss at the end of this video, would make us fully there, and it wouldn't undermine truly anything in the game. We'll discuss that later, but for now, let's talk about what actually has arrived, and then we're going to do a lot of math. So you can skip after the math if you don't want to suffer through it. I'll try to make it really simple and really fast. But what you need to know is they're adding a progressive system, and they articulated it in a very strange way. They're saying that after the first time on a new banner, so right now we have the Beelzebub banner and the Beatrix banner, for any normal banner. This will not apply to limited banners, which we'll discuss later. And then ancient banners have their own system that we're going to discuss. But for your, divine summoning here with Beatrix and Beelzebub, and then for your invocation summoning, so the invocation being your blue and your diamonds, the divine being your golds, we do have a new rate-up system. So you can see these banners start as a 20x. So they equalize and flatten the base rate of every legendary hero in the normal pool, so either the invocation pool or the divine pool, then they take that base rate or weight, whatever probabilistic metric you want to think of, and they 20x the rate up units. So this is what that historically looks like. This is the updated thing as it will be on July 1st. We'll have 70 units in the game that are 70 non-Lord units. There's 8 Lords and 70 non-Lord normal legendaries, and you can see they all have their assigned weights. You add up those weights, they add up to 100. That's just how I made it, so it'd look really easy. But basically, you can take each individual weight, divide by 100, and then you get your percentage, and you can see your chance to get anyone. If we focus just on the left side here, when there's a 20x rate up, as we have seen, the weight becomes 20 times higher. So you can see the 1.314. I just take that and multiply it by 20. That's the new weight. We add it all up together. The new total weight is 149.94. We take the individual weights again, divide it by 149.94, and we get our new percentages. So you can see your chance to get Abomination and Eris, which will be the example I use for this, just because they're the first two alphabetically, comes out to 17.5% chance each. If you exclude the Legendary Lords, it's about an 18.5% chance. This is our baseline. This is where we were at. The new system, it's written as a multiplicative thing, but it's actually an additive rate up that is applied in a multiplicative fashion to the base rate. I know that sounds way too complicated, but I only have to briefly explain it that way because that's how Moonton went about describing this. The first time you obtain a legendary hero that is not a rate up hero, the drop rate for all rate up heroes will be multiplied by 10. They are saying the increase applied to the base rate of the rate up heroes will be increased by 10. So if previously it was a 20x, now you're having an additional 10x rate up on it. That is not 20 times 10x and a 200x rate up. No, it is 20 plus 10. You go to a progressively higher 30x rate up. So the way it's going to work is if you're summoning on a rate up pool, so we'll use Beatrix and Beelzebub right now as an example, you have a 20x on those units. The first legendary you pull, if it is not one of those two, you are going to see your rate up increase by 10. So it will become a 30x rate up. And we will go through all this math. If you miss again, so you pull a second legendary and it is not Beelzebub and Beatrix, it now goes up another 10. So from the 30 to a 40x rate up. Or you could think of it as you're at your 20, you've now had two 10x boosts. So you went from 20 to 40. If you miss again, if you miss 3 times, you now have another 10x applied. Now it's a 50x rate up. This sounds huge. And over many legendaries summoned, it compounds in a very high likelihood you'll hit a banner rate up, and I will show you that math. However, it's not as powerful as it sounds at first. And the key thing, it will disappear the second you hit a rate up unit, and there's no contingency that allows you to highlight the unit you want it to be. So let's say you were targeting Beelzebub, and you hit Beatrix, it is now gone, poof, and this progressive rate up only applies to the first banner legendary you hit. So it's a feature that will only be put into effect if you continually are not hitting rate up banners. The second you hit either of the rate up banner units, it resets and it does not come back again. So I'll read through it really quickly here. When summoning for the current special summoning pool, if you obtain a legendary hero that is not a rate up, the drop rate for all rate up heroes will receive an additional increase. That increase is plus 10x. That's simply how you can think about it for the invocation and divine banners. The first time you obtain a legendary hero that is not a rate up, the drop rate for all rate up heroes will be multiplied by 10. Just add a plus 10x. That's how you should think about it. That's how the math works. If you again obtain another legendary hero that's still not the rate up hero, the drop rate will be multiplied again by 10. No, you add another plus 10x. So in that example, now it's up to 40x. The drop rate mentioned above refers to the probability of obtaining a rate up hero compared to other heroes of the same rarity. Key thing, this pity timer triggers only once during the event. So as soon as you get one of the banner heroes, it is gone, and it's not like you're back to 20x, and as soon as you miss again, it goes up to 30. They will no longer be applying the progressive. On a banner like this Beelzebub and Beatrix banner, it doesn't matter as much. For some people, it will, right? If you really need Beatrix or you really need Beelzebub, it's going to suck if it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 legendaries pulled, even with this progressive feature, which is still possible. That is not some crazy unlikely outcome. And then you hit the one you don't want. So if you really want Beatrix, you could hit Beelzebub. Now the progressive goes poof. Your chance to get Beatrix is back to the 20x. It will not budge at all, and you're just kind of SOL. The fact that you cannot target which unit you want on progressive will infuriate many people. This banner features 2 extremely good legendary units, Beatrix and Beelzebub. But you will see as we are about to head into the math, if we do a banner as I used as an example here with Abomination and Eris, Abomination is basically dog shit in the game right now. Eris is kind of a superstar right now. Anyone that would summon on this hypothetical banner would be wanting to go through first pull, second pull, third pull, fourth pull, seeing their progressive chance rise, the rate up for the banner heroes from 20x to 30x to 40x to 50x, hoping their chance to get Eris is getting higher and higher and higher. However, as you can see, if we just focus on the rates here, your chance to get Eris is going from 17.5 to 22.3% to about 26% to nearly 29%. But at the same time, the exact same thing is happening to Abomination. So it will still be a coin flip when you finally do hit the banner rate up, whom you get. And it easily, 50% chance, will be the one you don't want, in this case, Abomination. And after that happens, the banner rate up is gone. The progressive rate up, the new system, has already fulfilled its thing. It made sure that in some reasonable amount of summons, 3 legendaries, 4 legendaries, 5 legendaries, hopefully sooner for many, but for a lot, it will be 3, 4, or 5. You're seeing that you did hit the banner rate up. They did fulfill their promise, but it wasn't who you wanted, and you're kind of SOL. Before we dive really deep, let's just talk about the other rate up system they're introducing, and that is the Special Ancient Summoning. This is for your ancient banners. So let's say we just had that banner with Alistair and Morgan, or actually we're getting that tomorrow. Yes, we're getting that banner for Morgan and Alistair tomorrow. So this will be for those kind of banners. The pool is very refined. I believe at the time of filming this, there are 20 non-Lord ancient pool legendaries and 20 Lord or Lord quality, so Lords and Unnamables in the ancient pool of legendary lords and unnamables. So the rate up, the boost to the rate up is not as significant. It starts at a 20x, but then they only multiply that base rate further by 2, essentially adding a plus 2x to it. So let's say you were going for Alistair. What is going to happen is if you miss on the first one, the next time the chance to get Alistair's up to 22x. Then if you miss again, it's 24x, so on and so on. The percentage increase for each increase of 1x in those rate ups with such a smaller pool, a much smaller pool, will be significant. But the key thing that they do not address here is it tied to each rarity bucket? I do not think it will be. So what does that mean? Let's say you really wanted to get Ingrid, and Ingrid was on rate up with Giselle, just to make it very extreme. I believe, at least the way it reads now, and I will check with the developers on Monday, that you would have your 20x for Ingrid and Giselle, but obviously the chance to get Giselle is higher because she has a higher base rate as a non-lord compared to Ingrid, who's a lord. And I believe once you hit either of the rate up banners, because that's how they write it here, you will lose this progressive rate up. So once you hit a Giselle, you now no longer have this compounding, increasing progressive rate up for Ingrid. I'm going to get clarification on that. But yeah, the key thing to know, the incremental boost here is smaller. It's only plus 2x as opposed to plus 10x. And as of now, I don't see any discrepancy between a reset with legendary lords and legendary non-lords. Maybe they could easily fix this, and I would really love to see that. But as it stands now, it does not read that way. Okay, let's focus on the really key thing with the special summoning rate up. Then we'll go into the pros and the cons. I'll break down the whole suggestion I sent them, 3 weeks ago, and then I'll give my critiques and suggestions. So if we do the math right now, I neutralized everything, so the base rate of a Lord is 1. That's because in general, if you hit a legendary with no rate up, you have an 8% chance it will be a legendary Lord or Iax, which means you have a 92% chance it will be a non-Lord. It was really easy, just with 8 options, the 7 Lords and Iax, to just give them a weight of 1 and do everything from there, and it led to some very simple math, at least until we increased the weights. So you can see the Lords have a weight of 1. I then took the 0.92%, right? You could just, not 92%, aka 0.92. I divide that by the pool of non-lords, which is 70. Once we get the introduction of Callista and Selene and Micah, and you'll see this comes out to a value of 0.0131, blah, 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 blah. You can turn that easily into a percentage or a rate, as I did it before, just by multiplying that by 100. So that's how we arrive at that. I applied all those weights. Obviously, they're going to add up to 100 since I, neutralize them in that way. I made it really easy with a simple denominator. So it adds up to 100. You take that total weight, you take any hero specific weight, you divide that by 100, and you are left with the percentage. That is our baseline. If there's a 20x, you take that general base rate for the rate up hero and you multiply it by 20. So in the example, again, we're using Abomination and Eris. We're taking that number 1.314, blah, 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 multiplying by 20. It gives us a weight of 26.286. Same for Abomination and Ares. Then we can add up all these weights together. We have a new total weight of 149.94. We divide each hero's individual weight over 149.94, and we get our new percentages. So you can see Abomination and Eris are having their new percentage to be pulled on the standard 20x rate up before you've missed any pulls of 17.5%, 17.53%. And now we get our first step towards all the math coming together. So your chance to hit either of them, and that's the key thing, because hitting either of them will reset and then remove the progressive rate up thing for the banner heroes, the targeted rate up as you go and go and go. It only is fulfilled once. You'll see your chance to hit is the combination of those two. So sell C12 plus C13, that's the 17.5 plus 17.5, comes out to just over a 35% chance. We then want to know our chance to miss. So on that first legendary pulled, what are the chances it won't be Eris or Abomination? And it's just about a 65% chance. And then the total chance, pull over, pull over, pull, obviously is the same because this is just our first pull. Right? So that first pull, our chance to hit is 35% chance. Our chance to miss is about 65%. The next thing, though, on our second pull, because we missed and did not get a banner rate up, you get plus 10x additional on top of it. This is in total a 30x rate up. So you can see I've applied that here. We have the same base weight that never changes for anything of 1.314, blah, blah, blah. We multiply it by 30 for both Abomination and Eris, and their new weights are just over 39. It's 39.429. We then can add all this up, and you can see the total weight obviously has risen because the weight of Eris and the weight of Abomination has risen. We have a new total weight of 176.23. We can then take each individual hero's rate, each individual hero's weight, divide it by the total weight, and we get each individual hero's rate. And you can see we have a pretty significant climb here of nearly 5% on your chance to get both Abomination and Eris. And it comes out to 22.37. The key thing, and this is the last big piece of math you have to understand to fully get all these results, are what are the chances we were going to hit on this pull. So again, we take the chance of both of them, 22.37%. We add those together. So it's just under 45% chance. It's a 44.75%. So the chance to miss on this specific pull, our second legendary we got, was 55.25%. However, the chance to have gotten either of them within the first two pulls is going to be our chance to miss both times multiplied together, and then you subtract that from 1. That gives us our chance to have hit on at least one of those. So what you can see here is our chance to miss on that first pull was 64.94. Our chance to miss the second pull was 55.25. To know what our chance to miss on both those was, when you're doing probability, for this and this to happen, an AND function, that's going to be multiplying. So we're going to get 64.94% times 55.25%. We get 35.88%. So by your second pull at this point with the new system, most people, the majority of people, 64.12% of people on their second legendary pulled at most will have gotten one of the banner rate ups. And now the progressive rate up thing is fulfilled. Who is it going to be? That's always going to be the coin flip. It's like that 50-50, and then the progressive rate up's gone. But the good news is, and let's really focus on the positive right now, if you pull two legendaries on a rate up banner, about 2/3 of the time, 64% of the time, you will hit a banner hero. And that is a big improvement, right? That is maybe big is actually a stretch. It used to be at a 50-50 after two pulls. It's a significant improvement. It is noticeable. It is worthy, and we thank Moonton for that, right? 64.12%. Let's say you missed again, though. So the chance you missed twice, if we go up here, is going to be that number, 35.88%, which will still happen over a third of the time. So over a third of players will miss on their first two legendaries still, even with the new system. We go now, we get another plus 10x added. So the base multiplying thing is a 40x to the base rate. We can go to our base rate here for Abomination and Eris. It's still the 1.31 blah, blah, blah. You multiply that by 40, it now goes up to a weight of 52.571 for both of them. Our new total weight is just over 200. We take each individual weight, divide it by the total weight, we get the individual rates. And now, For each of them, we have over a 1 in 4 chance when we hit a legendary, it will be them. It's nearly a 26% chance. If we add that together on this specific pull, we have a 51.92% chance you're going to hit one of the 2 rate-up heroes, which means you have a 48.08% chance to miss. So on that third pull, officially, you now have better than a 50% chance to hit on that specific pull. If we now compound those rates of what are our chances to miss and miss and miss, where we can multiply those together, 64.94% times 55.25% times 48.08%, you can see by that third pull, it's extremely likely you will have hit one of the rate-up legendaries. There's only a 17.25% chance you'd miss 3 times in a row with the progressive rate-up in effect, which effectively, most importantly, means you'll have over an 82% chance, nearly an 83% chance at 82.75% that you will hit one of the banner rate-ups. Finally, if you somehow miss, if you're in that nearly 20%, but not even the 17.25%, and you've missed 3 times, on your fourth pull, you now have an additional 10x rate up added. The base rate is multiplied by 50. You can see that brings us to a weight of 65.714 for Abomination and Eris. The total weight balloons to 228.8, and now the chance to hit them is going to be nearly 29%, 28.72% for each of them. So again, very significant, well over 50% now, but no kind of lock. It compounds pull to pull to pull that it starts becoming close to a lock, as you'll see, but on each individual pull, it's not like the deck is ever super stacked towards those units. You should hit them fairly quickly, but nothing guarantees you will. So even with all this, we're at about a 57% chance, 57.44% chance to hit. That means our chance to miss is about 42.5%. So in total, if we combine all these chances to miss over our 4 pulls, it's the nearly 65% chance times the just about 55% chance times the 48% chance times the 42.5% chance. At that point, to miss all 4 times, to keep missing as the progressive is in effect, it's only a 7.34% chance, which means you have over a 92% chance that you will hit. You are going to be missing less than 10% of the time. It's still more than 5 though. So, on average, 7 to 8 players in a group of 100 players will miss, even with the new progressive system, 4 times in a row. It is really good, though. It's pretty fair. The vast majority of players, and even one player over a variety of different summoning experiences, will tend to hit in 2 pulls or 3 pulls, for sure. The average amount of pulls is going to be at about 2 pulls that it takes to hit a banner rate up. However, there will be some percentage of people that get screwed on a banner they really wanted to hit, and they go 0 for 4 or even go 0 for 5. So I really wanted to cement that the new progressive is very strong. Still nothing is guaranteed, but it is very potent. And I actually think the system is really fair, and I think it's really well balanced. The key flaw, and this is where I'm going to, bring up my response when they asked us to review this, is that you cannot pick which banner rate up hero you are targeting, and that it resets if you hit the wrong banner rate up hero. So if you pull up what I said now, with the system they presented is exactly what is actually happening, which I just discussed with you here. 3 weeks ago, they shared that with me among many other creators. And I said, in general, I definitely like it. But you were saying feature heroes drop rate singular, not feature heroes plural. Every banner type besides limiteds always has 2 featured heroes. Do both of them get their rates boosted or just one? I think for this system to work well, players must be able to choose which of the 2 they want the boost to apply to. The feature would just lead to more rage if after a couple non-banner legendaries and boosts, a player pulled a boosted banner hero that isn't the one they wanted. So in the Abomination Eris example, let's say there's a player who did the 3 pulls, they got unlucky, they had a 64% chance to get it in 2, they didn't. They finally hit on 3, which easily could be 4, 5, even close to 550 summons, right? They hit their 3rd legendary. It is the banner rate up, but they get Abomination, not Eris, and they're very upset. This is what I'm discussing here, right? I think that could enrage players. So let's put my response back up. This is something I predicted, and I'm certain many other content creators shared this concern, like without a doubt. There's no, we'll get there in one moment. But I said I think it's going to enrage players if they're hitting the boosted banner rate and they don't hit what they wanted. Finally, and this is talking about limited banners, I said, I think the system should apply to limited banners, but only the 2nd copy after the 200 guarantee. Every new limited now needs multiple awakenings. Everyone wants to hunt for another copy, and it can be impossible. So I give an example here. You guys continue to introduce limited heroes where awakenings are basically required, so players pull for awakenings and can never get them. For example, on the Diao Chan banner, I pulled over 1,400 summons before I got a second copy, first copy after the guarantee. Many players pulled over 1,000 times on each Wukong banner and never got a second copy. I use myself as an example again. I pulled over 1,500 summons before I got a second copy across the two banners. And then this is the key thing. I said, hope my thoughts here help. Also, I did a roundtable on Wednesday, this was like 3.5 weeks ago, regarding this exact issue, featuring 3 of the top creators in the game, Dr. D's, Corey, and Sebastian Canes. I said, I really suggest you guys watch that, and the devs review players' thoughts and comments like we discussed last week. I'd asked if I made a video like this, would they check the comments? They said they would. I sent it to them. They responded saying they reviewed the comments, and they thanked me, right? So that's where we left things. And basically I was saying, you've got the start of something beautiful here, but the way it is now will lead to an overall net win, but also a lot of people feeling like it is incomplete. Let me know what you guys think. But as it stands now, if you cannot target who you want, you know, if it's an Eris and Abomination banner and you get Abomination, now you lose your progressive system and you're just back to square one with the 20x gambling for Eris, I think it's going to leave a lot of poor taste in a lot of players' mouths. That's what I'm trying to say. Please do share your thoughts. If you appreciate this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This took a very long time for me to sort out and refilm and make sure I was presenting it in a clear and concise way, so I really hope I accomplished that. If you have any questions about the math, just hit me up. But I quadruple check this stuff. It's pretty spot on. This is kind of the thing I like to do. And all in all, I think it's a great step in the right direction. I'm not trying to be overly negative, but I don't want to be some Moonton shill, not to point fingers, but I just don't want to be one of those guys that's just like acting like any change is good. Just because we asked for something and just because they listened and started answering what we asked does not mean the answer is complete. This is not a full answer. And I do think it's actually strong enough, but not enough there that because people know it could have gone so much better and didn't, I think it will lead to more rage quitting and more people stepping away from the game. It's a great step and a great move by Moonton to listen and push towards player friendliness. It's something they've always been amazing at, and I've always praised them for. But that being said, I don't think we should just, you know, rest on what it is now and say this is enough. I think at the very least, what you can do is after you hit the progressive, if you want the progressive to come back, you can reintroduce it. So let's say you did one legendary pulled, miss, one legendary pulled, second legendary pulled, miss, third one, it's the one you didn't want. It's Abomination. Maybe there could be a pop-up. Do you want to reintroduce the progressive again, this time for the other character? I think you should have that at a minimum. What I would suggest actually happens is if we have a banner, just to use this since it's up, with Beatrix and Beelzebub, these buttons here, that's this like Beelzebub logo and this Beatrix logo, make it clickable, click it, and then a pop-up dialog box could say, would you like this? Would you like to confirm this as your wish hero? And that's the one the progressive's applying to. Because if that was the case, the numbers get really, really good. Let me just show you one example, one last bit of math before I move on. Let's say just when the 30x happened, it only applied to Eris because he was our wish hero, not Abomination. Abomination's other number would remain at the 20x, and look how this adjusts. Abomination goes down to a 16%, and Eris goes up to a 24%. If you did that yet again, let me give you this example here. We can put in the new Abomination weight. Now Abomination's all the way down to 15%, and Eris is all the way up to 30%. He's twice as likely. Little changes like this would be so huge. So I really think it should be a wish system. I really think that's going to be the most powerful thing they could add, where you can be like, all right, do you want Beelzebub? Do you want Beatrix? Do you want Abomination? Do you want Eris? Give the player that optionality. And then finally, let's remind ourselves there's the whole can of worms to unpack with the Ancient Thing. Could pulling a Thalon ruin my progressive chance to get a Praetus or a Ingrid or a Valderon or a Yovar? I think a lot of players would be upset about that. So I'm going to ask them on Monday. We'll see. Guys, thank you so much for watching. A big thank you to R-Type for editing this video. I just appreciate you guys so much. A lot of people are saying I seem like I'm more energetic lately. Frankly, there's a lot of stuff pissing me off behind the scenes, and I've decided to channel that into highly productive content every day. So I hope I'm accomplishing that. I wish you all a beautiful weekend. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.